Back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It was a good evening on Tuesday evening if you're watching the Washington Capitals and you like positive outcomes, and certainly an organization that they have always faltered against in the Dallas Stars. I think going back to Mike Modano in Minnesota and the North Stars, you betcha, up there at the Met Center. Ed Frankovic is our Caps historian, blogger, insider, outsider, and follower of all things Rock the Red. And a victory, and they're not easy every night. Certainly getting spanked around by the Flyers over the weekend was no fun after a pretty nice little run. And I was down at the game on Friday night against the Islanders, but this team's bounced back, and Ovechkin continues to look like as good as advertised. $100 million in his pocket. He still wants to win a Stanley Cup. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, they've won 5 of 6 now, Ness, and the one loss in Philly. I know you and I can't stand the Flyers, and I'll give them a pass because Kuznetsov was out and Brooks Orpik was out, and Kuznetsov was still out last night. But, yeah, Ovechkin and Tom Wilson, boy, what a job the coaching staff has done with Wilson. And Ovechkin's motivated, 44 goals, looking like he could very well win the Rocket Richard Trophy again, but he's focused on one cup, and the Capitals played a very good game on Tuesday night, but I didn't like the penalties. I didn't like some of the decisions with the pucks, but they still found a way to beat a Dallas team that really had to have that game. I mean, Dallas is on the outside looking in right now at the Western Conference playoffs. Coach Trotz knew they were going to bring it, and the Capitals matched their intensity. I felt like Washington was the better team all night, even without Kuznetsov, who, we give him a hard time a lot. We talk about some of the things he does or doesn't do, but the bottom line is Washington is a much, much better team when he is on the ice. That's pretty obvious, especially their power play. But the Capitals found a way to get it done on Tuesday night, and that was a big 2 points. Opened up a 4-point lead on the Penguins, and the Capitals about to head on a 3-game road trip against some teams who beat them the last 3 times they played. But the Capitals should beat these teams. They're all out of the playoffs right now.
Well, and that's a big part of this, Eddie. There's a team there on Tuesday night that comes in on a bad weather night after the Caps got their butts kicked up in Philadelphia, up and back. And by and large, Caps have been playing well, right? I think we'll agree on that. But the Caps are playing for first place in their division and sort of a higher seed and a better place and all that other stuff. The Stars are playing for their lives, right? So that's what you're getting this time of the year over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And look, the Caps play 4 more games now before we get head coach Trotz out next Thursday night for we're going to swap for the Bone Marrow Red Stream. For There Goes My Hero. You're going to ask a bunch of hockey questions, and I'm going to ask a bunch of Stanley Cup questions. And we always tend to laugh a lot and tell some old fun stories. So we'll be doing all that. But it's a different thing every night based on whether the red light's on or off for that team and what the motivation level is for a team. And I got to hand it to the Capitals over the last couple of years, and Trotz as well. Most of the time, they haven't had a lot to play for because they've been like Golden State. They've been so good that when they lose, it was a little bit of an anomaly. And every night, they were almost like the cat toying with the mouse. It's not as easy for them with this group, and that's something that we're going to chat with at length with Coach Trotz next week on Thursday night. By the way, it's opening day's after party. I'm staking the claim on that one, Ed, so I'm calling this the official after party up at Timonium. But, this is a different brand for the Capitals and a different look. And when a really hungry team comes in there on a Tuesday night playing for their lives, and it's obvious that they are, and we're going to see a handful more of those over the next month, that's the night when you're going to judge the Capitals for me, not on the night when they draw Ottawa or whatever, Yeah,
absolutely. This was a measuring stick game. I really didn't feel good about the contest coming into it because Kuznetsov was out and Orpik was questionable, and Brooks did play and played well, actually. You look at what he brings on that back end, that physicality, and it was really his physicality that set up the game-winning goal. He gets in, the guy for Fasic for the Stars pokes at Holtby after the whistle is blown. And the Capitals had no pushback on Sunday against the Flyers with Orpik out of the lineup. They had a bunch of mobile defensemen that aren't going to clear the front of the net, and guys like Wayne Simmons and Konechny for the Flyers took advantage of that and kind of ran roughshod over the Caps. With Orpik back there, it's a different beast, if you will. He does not let guys get close to Holtby. They try to take some liberties with the goalie, and Brooks wrestles around with the guy. He gets a 4-on-4 situation, Capitals end up winning the game in that 4-on-4 with a really nice goal from Carlson and Hughes and Eller and Ovechkin all contributed to that tally. So, Orpik gets a lot of abuse on Caps Twitter, and Barry Trotz has asked about it a lot, but the stats are stats, but at the end of the day, hockey is a game. It's nonlinear, and Orpik brings a lot to that back end.
Well, he's the veteran guy that's going to win a game 4 for them in April, right? Like, I mean, it goes without saying when you got a guy that's veteran at that point, laying out in March is not necessarily what all of them do. Now, Ovechkin is, right? And we always wonder where the level of motivation is for Burakovsky, Kuznetsov, and a couple of these guys. Oshie, you never have to worry. Oshie's another guy. I'm not really worried about him. And he kind of came to life on Tuesday night, was one of the stars of the game as well. I don't want to see the great Ovechkin in March. I want to see the great Ovechkin in June. And that's what every Caps fan wants to see. So I find it very hard to judge them at this point. I see this very much as an extended preseason and everything they're doing right now, and I want them to win, and they want to win, and it's nice when they do win, and they've shown that ability to gut out a game like they did on Tuesday night against a hungry team. But I stand with everyone else. I will not judge this team, and I'll tell Trotz to his face next week. I don't really care what you do here. I don't care what you're seeding. You know that. You don't care what your seeding is. You don't care about a President's Trophy. You care about a Stanley Cup. And how these guys are conditioned and where they are and what matchup and what physical condition they're in 4 weeks from now is all that matters.
That is correct. And I think they're going to be extra cautious with Kuznetsov. And I like what they've done with the goalies. They're rotating the goalies now, and certainly Grubauer deserved a lot of starts, but Holtby seems to be rounding back into form. And probably the biggest factor is something you touched on is Alex Ovechkin's in the best shape I've ever seen him at this point in his career. And that's saying something at this age, 32 years old. He is trimmed down. He's skating well. He really took last summer very seriously, got himself in the best shape of his career, and it's paying off. I mean, you don't lead the league in goals at age 44. I mean, at age 32, it just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in history, and he's doing something remarkable. But again, who cares right now? I mean, the thing that matters is Ovi's in great shape. The team needs to get healthy going into the playoffs. And it doesn't matter who they play. I mean, someone asked me following the game on Tuesday night, who do you want to play, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Philadelphia? I said, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you're healthy. And then you got to get in there and you got to get hot. You got to play well. You got to be healthy. You got to get good goaltending. So either Holtby or Grubauer. I mean, look at Pittsburgh. I mean, Trotz was asked this question earlier this week. Who do you want to be? Do you want one goalie for the playoffs? And Trotz's response was, go ask Mike Sullivan that. And you look at the last two cup runs, Pittsburgh's had to use a lot of their goalies. They used Murray. They used Fleury. Fleury was the big difference maker against the Caps last spring. So they're going to need Grubauer. They're going to need Holtby. They just need everybody healthy. And I don't think Ovi's going to get hurt like he did last spring because he's in better shape. He's not going to be vulnerable to those hits to the lower body because he's skating better. He's more mobile. He's harder to get to. So it's shaping up nicely. They got to just get through the stretch. They dodged a huge bullet with Kuznetsov not fracturing a finger or a wrist on a really dirty, cheap shot.
I was there Friday night. I saw that poke, and then they had the other injury that happened later in the game, right? Somebody took this ankle, right?
Shot, banged up, came right back out. Yeah, they can't lose Matt Niskanen either. So, Carlson, Niskanen, Orlov, Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Wilson. Wilson's just coming off a broken nose from taking a puck, and boy, was he dominant on Tuesday night, 9 hits, 6 shots on net. What a player he's become. That's a testament to the coaching staff. And you get.
But they always saw that potential in him. You know what I mean? Like they brought him up early, and he was in that goon role for 5 minutes, and had all the same problems that Scott Stevens had early in his career with having the short hair trigger, right, and being the kind of player you want on the ice, but you want to be that kind of an enforcer. They saw this in him. They really, I will talk to Trotzy about it, but they saw this in him. Yeah,
and actually, as soon as Barry took over the job, one of the first things he said was, I'm going to try Tom Wilson on the first line. Because remember, they didn't have TJ Oshie that first year. And I agree with you. Oshie had a very good game last night, 4 goals in 4 games. He's heating up. But Wilson was really mismanaged by George McVie and Adam Oates. And they should not have had him up that first year in 2013-14. They should have sent him back to Plymouth and let him play hockey. And their excuse for not sending him back was they didn't want him to fight. Well, then Adam Oates plays him 5-6 minutes a night and had him fighting. It was a terrible decision. It was one in many line of reasons why Oates and McVie had to go. And look where we are 4 years later. Trotz has had them in second place the first year, a team that many didn't even think would make the playoffs. 2 President's trophies, and now they're sitting at the top of the division, poised to make have to face the Penguins again. You got to get through Pittsburgh, and you can't get out of the second round because of the way the playoff structure is unless you beat Pittsburgh. So I think Trotz has done an amazing job. I think they've done a great job with Wilson developing him. It took a while. Tom had that injury that first summer that Trotz was the head coach, so it's taken a little longer. But boy, he is dominant. When he is skating well, he's hitting. Dallas really had no answer for the Ovechkin and Wilson with Backstrom line on Tuesday night, and they're going to need Wilson and Ovi play playoff type hockey. So if those guys can stay healthy and play the way they're playing, the Caps are going to be hard to match up against. The other team's defense is going to get hit a lot, and they got to hit 15 times between those two guys on Tuesday night.
Where are you with the defense at this point, Eddie? And by the way, Ed Frankovic joining us here. He's our Caps historian, insider, blogger. You can always follow him for anything Caps at Ed Frankovic. That's Frankovic. We retweet from time to time, and certainly as we get closer to playoff time, we have head coach Barry Trotz joining the two of us next Thursday night. That's the opening day after party. We're going to be at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. Eddie, you been to Michael's Cafe in Timonium before?
I have not, and I'm looking forward to what's the specialty there of the house.
Do you like cream of crab soup?
Yes, I do.
Do you like Maryland crab soup?
Yes.
Have you ever had them together, blended?
No, I haven't.
Well, you will on Thursday night, and we're going to do this on the air all together because I was at a party. I was at a party for what was it? Our Daily Bread. It was a Catholic Families event 2 weeks ago, and they were catering, and what they brought was 2 big vats of soup, and they serve it to you in a little thing, and I kept going back and getting like shots of it, And I took a picture, and that was right at the time where we were talking about doing this Barry Trotz show up there, and I sent a note up to Steve. I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. And I said, I want to talk about this on the radio. So they call it split level. I'm going to get to I don't know why, but I'm going to learn. So we're going to do that. We're all going to eat split level soup. They're also famous for the crab cakes and the prime steaks, and they've just built on this beautiful addition. We're doing the show in the beautiful addition bar room. There's a sexy fireplace. There's an outdoor sort of rock lounge sort of thing outside. They have bands there on Friday nights. It's fantastic. It's right across. You'll love it. It's right across from the racetrack. You're the pony guy, right?
Oh yeah, I think I may have been there before. Years ago, if it's the place I'm thinking of.
It's been there 34 years, Michael's Cafe in Timonium.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been there. I think I ate lunch there one time, but I'm really looking
You probably had the crab cake if you did.
Something.
It's a sports bar, and I have a long history with it, and it involves Mike Flanagan. And I'm gonna tell that story to you and Trotz from the microphone there, but I have a really awesome Mike Flanagan story about that night, and I'm going to tell it. I don't think I've ever told it before either, but it involves Michael's Cafe because that's where I met Flanagan. So there.
I'm looking forward to hearing that.
So there's a
Royals history.
It is a serious. It's one of the best stories I've never told on the radio. And I'll be telling that to you and Coach Trotz. So there. And I might tell it again a couple more times. All of our WNST programming brought to you by my pal, Bill Cole. We had him on the air this week, too, and we talked about management changes and whatnot. Obviously, the weather hasn't been good for your roof. If you have a commercial roof space, you need some advice. Everybody, if you own a business, if you own a facility, if you own something that is a structure, you have a roof, and you need a guy like Bill Cole at some point. Get him now before it's too late, especially with the wind. ColeRoofing.com, you can learn more. And, of course, our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. The unique hands-on approach to banking, that's what they do. I'll pass 2 Howard Banks on the way up there to Michael's Cafe in Timonium. Stop by and learn all about all they do at Howard Bank. I'm so excited about being a partner with them because we're doing the Be More Positive Community and Charity Series on Thursdays beginning April 5th. I'll have more information on that for you as well. Ed, I wanted to talk about defense with hockey, all right? I was going into that before I had to plug our event and all the cool stuff we're going to be doing around here next couple weeks as we get ready for baseball, hockey, all that. The UMBC thing's an incredible story. Crabtree's incredible. Alex Cobb, and I'm not even talking to you about any of that. Caps defense, where are you on that, and how are you feeling about these young players? Because I remember when 2 years ago, Orlov was the weak link, right? Now he's he better not be the weak link. He's not right now. He's talking about guys that improved. He's improved dramatically. But where are you with Jews and Bowie? And certainly Orpik's not the player he once was, but that's not to say that he can't be as good as he ever once was in April and May for 2 months, right?
Yeah, I really like the D as it was configured against Dallas on Tuesday night. I like Jews in the lineup with Orpik because I think you got a guy who can really move the puck along with a guy who's very strong defensively and is not going to let people get pushed around. I did not like it when Orpik was out of the lineup on Sunday in Philly because now you've got Jacob Jerabek, a guy they picked up at the deadline. You've got Michael Kepney, another guy picked up at the deadline. And Jews, they're all three pretty much the same player. They're good puck movers, but they're not physical. And in April and May and June, hopefully, you're going to need guys that are going to protect your net. And the Flyers knew they could go to the net. So it's vital that Orpik is healthy. So I'd really like to see Coach Trotz, and we'll ask him about this next Thursday, spot Brooks when he can down the stretch here. Make sure he's healthy because I think they have to have him in the lineup. He's very good. He's in their top pair on penalty killing. Orlov has been the most consistent defenseman all season long. I know Carlson is racking up points. He's close to the league lead, and John's having a monster season. He's going to get a big payday, hopefully, from the Caps this summer because I don't think they can afford to lose him. But Orlov's been the most consistent player. Had a little bit of a shaky game on Tuesday at Dallas, if you will. And then Niskanen had a really rough first half of the year with a lot of injuries. He was banged up a lot. And Matt's starting to, even though his plus-minus is way up there, and a lot of that's attributable to the way Orlov has played, I feel like Niskanen's finally playing his best hockey. So the D has taken a long time to come together. But if there's one thing Barry Trotz knows coming up from the Capitals organization, when you and I first cut our teeth covering this team, working for this team, we were around the Rod Langways, the Scott Stevens, the Larry Murphys, the Calle Johanssons. Barry Trotz, David Poyle, those guys know how to develop defensemen, and we saw Trotz do that in Nashville with Ryan Suter and Shea Weber.
Well, Brian Murray would say they have to play responsibly in their own end, right?
Yes, absolutely, and they did not do that for years in the Bruce Boudreau era. And
how many nights do we hear Brian Murray say that, right?
Yeah, offense. You need some
offense
and strong defense. Brian Murray taught you and I a lot about hockey.
You have to be responsible. You have to play responsibly on the back end.
And so I feel good about the D. I like Kepney playing with Carlson. I like Orpik with Hughes. And, of course, Niskanen and Orlov have been a great pair since assembled a couple of years ago. Well, last year in the middle of the season when they really took off. So if they can stay healthy there, I think they'll be good. Bowie's down in Hershey playing it out. He'll be called up as soon as the season's over because Hershey's not going to make the playoffs, unfortunately. And you and I love the Hershey Bears, but it's just not been their year. And then Jerabek, he's a good guy that can fill in if you need it. But it's really going to be, I think they'll go with Hughes in the playoffs. They may spot Hughes and Jerabek back and forth just because Hughes is a rookie. But I like what Christian can do with his skating and his puck management. He did a great job on the game-winning goal again on Tuesday night.
They're hoping he's an emerging player, right? I mean, we want to see better out of him, but the game gets real big for a guy like him in Game 6. It does. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. Young guys defensively, they are much like who's the little corner. Remember Billick said, go pick on that little corner over there. That's the way the game's played, in Game 6 when Crosby comes into the place, right?
Yeah, and
brings Gino with him, right?
When the Ravens won that first Super Bowl, I remember Billick saying we're going to go as far as our corners take us, and certainly Dwayne Starks and Chris McAllister, and especially Starks, they stepped up in the playoffs after having some shaky games. I remember being at that Jacksonville game when they gave up 30-some points, and Sharp scored right at the end to win. So, you got to have the defenseman playing well. It's defensive hockey. It's 3-2, 2-1 games, and it's guys crashing the net, and that's why you need a guy like Orpik out there to keep them honest. And Niskanen and Orlov, certainly, they've shown they can be a dominant pair, and I like what Kempney's doing with Carlson. Carlson's going to have to play physical here in the playoffs, but they can't afford an injury on the back end. They do have a little bit of depth with Jerabek and Bowie. But I still would have liked to have added a true 4D at the deadline, but the deal just wasn't there. They were going to have to give up too much for the future. So they're going to roll with what they got. The goalies are going to have to be hot. And that's the most important thing, hot goalie. And I'd like to see Holtby have a playoffs like he did in 2012 against Boston and the Rangers, where he almost single-handedly carried this team to the third round that year.
He is Ed Frankovic. He is our Caps insider, historian. Look, because you have the floor, because the weather's been bad, you're going to have the floor next Thursday with head coach Trotz. Look, you're an Oriole guy, you're a Raven guy, old school, you're a Baltimore guy. No one has more passion for Baltimore. This has been a hell of a week, Ed. Once I start talking about not sticking to sports and, stretching out my conversations to include rock and roll and politics and community and charity, all of a sudden, right, the Ravens go get Crabtree and have this fiasco with Grant and bring in John Brown, and Ryan Jensen goes off and gets $1 billion, and the Orioles in the middle of the night on Tuesday night sign Alex Cobb for $57 million, and the UMBC thing. Dude, there are some stories, and I go back to that Coppin State thing, 15-2, which was, until now, the greatest thing ever done and a great Baltimore story, and Fang brought his guys in and all that stuff that week, and I put the pictures up, but, boy, the UMBC thing's pretty delicious on top of all of this. It's been a hell of a week around here.
It's been amazing, and the UMBC thing is just taking the nation by storm, and they almost pulled it out there on Sunday night. Just couldn't throw it in the ocean from the beach, if you will. You missed the 9 free throws, really hurt. But I really look forward to your conversation with Steve Levy, because I've known Steve for years and years and years, back to the 80s. Good friends with Mike Herr, former Caps,
of course,
team ophthalmologist and statistician who I worked with for years and years. I know you know Mike very well. And Steve's just a great guy. I couldn't be happier for that university. And then the Cobb thing, I don't know a whole lot about the pitching. I don't, I've spent all my time covering hockey, but anytime the Orioles get a pitcher, and I think that's what they need more than anything, I'm curious to see how that pans out. So I'll make sure I listen to your conversations on that this week. I hope everybody else does and get the inside scoop on what this guy's going to bring to a staff that certainly needed a lot of help. Crabtree, he's killed. How many times has he killed the Ravens? He almost killed the Ravens in Super Bowl down there against the 49ers. Luckily, Kaepernick couldn't make a good throw, and the Ravens knew that and really got after him and made him try and win the game. And so Crabtree, but I still remember that catch he had against the Ravens here 2 years ago, and to stop the Ravens when they were 3-0 with the Raiders, big catch late. So it'd be nice to see those going the other way for once, because certainly lost a lot of football games late here the last couple of years.
Well, we all have these visions of Flacco throwing the Crabtree right now inside the gym at Audubon High School in New Jersey. But they'll be getting together soon enough, and I'm sure we'll be getting on the same page. We got draft coming up in a couple of weeks, and lots of stuff happening, but nothing I'm more excited about than next Thursday. Eddie, I'm going to be in Orlando Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Coach Harbaugh with the breakfast on Tuesday morning. You'll want to be on social media for that as well. It's just a big time around here, but Coach Trotz on Thursday, after opening day on Thursday afternoon. It's going to be a big night out at Michael's Cafe in Timonium, and you're going to have split-level soup for the first time in your life. How about that?
I'm really looking forward to that. And if the Capitals can play well against this upcoming road trip here, going to Detroit, Montreal, and the Rangers, and then they get the Rangers the night before we have them, they can get a little run here. They can kind of be close to locking this division up when we see him next week. So,
boy, 3 of the big 6 here, right? All sort of dying, right? New York, Detroit, Montreal. This is the kind of trip where you go to these legendary places and they're all playing out the string this year. Kind of weird, right?
Yeah, the Capitals have to take advantage of this. Yeah, it's the Red Wings, the Rangers, Montreal, the original 6 teams, they're all out. They're not making the playoffs. And each one of these teams, the last time the Caps played each one of these teams, the Capitals lost to them. So they should have it in their heads, hey, these teams can play if they want to. And the Wings did the Capitals a little bit of a favor, knocking off the Flyers on Tuesday night in the shootout and stealing a point from the Flyers to keep them 5 points behind Washington. So the Wings snapped a lengthy losing streak. I think they had lost every game since they had beaten the Capitals. So the Capitals really need to jump on them, knock out Detroit, and I guess they're in the new building out there, the Little Caesars Arena. So it's a big weekend for the Capitals. You'll be in Orlando. I'm going to be hitting a little white ball in Myrtle Beach and then coming back. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the coach next Thursday, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Metropolitan Division being wrapped up very soon.
Dude, let me tell you what. We're getting Coach Trotz after a back-to-back with the New York Rangers. Monday night up at the Garden, Wednesday night down in D.C., and, I'm just hoping we get a good mood version of Coach Trotz, especially just beating the Rangers on Wednesday night. But losing to these dreg teams, that wouldn't go over well this week.
No, it wouldn't. And the Penguins have been losing to the Islanders and the Rangers here recently. So those teams can still play. And like I said,
they still got one left with the Penguins. They got to go up to Pittsburgh next Sunday, right? The first.
Yeah, the Penguins game is coming after we talk to Coach Trotz. So they'll play Carolina at home the night after we meet with Coach Trotz, and then it's to Pittsburgh. So if they can get this run here, these next 5 games, really have a good stretch here, they could have the division locked up and make that Pittsburgh game not really matter. And in truth, nothing matters to the playoffs. The Capitals are going to make the playoffs. That's where you got to go. We've seen seeding doesn't matter. The Predators, heck, they were the 8th seed last year and went all the way to the finals. So the Kings won it from the 8th seed a couple of years ago. The Penguins have shown just get in, get hot there. So that's what matters. But the Capitals do need to, try and take care of business here. Make sure they solidify that playoff position and win the division. It's always nice to have home ice, although it hasn't panned out in the past for the Capitals.
He is my pal and longtime Caps historian, blogger, insider. He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow him out on Twitter at Ed Frankovic, as well as throw him an email, ed@WNST.net. We will be together next Thursday night at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. We will be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero, along with Caps head coach Barry Trotz. Old times, new times, skipjack memories. Come on out, get a picture, say hello, eat some soup, get a crab cake, get one of those delicious prime steaks, knock back a glass of Malbec, whatever it is, but after the Orioles game, watch the Orioles game there. Why not, right? Show's going to start around 7:30. Game time is 3 down at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, so we're calling it the after party for opening day at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. Come meet head coach Trotz and say hello and rock your red. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault is there for you 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world to listen to what you want, when you want, wherever you want. You can download, listen live, podcast, as the kids are calling it. And, of course, just download that TuneIn Radio app live from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. So much more than a little AM radio station. The morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's all powered up by our friends at Planet Fitness at PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. There's a Planet Fitness right around the corner from you. Our morning newspaper also features the Maryland Jockey Club. Cure the Winter Blues. We got Laurel entries now in our morning newspaper, as well as on the front page of WNST.net. So make sure you're checking that out, getting your unlimited cup for Preakness activities, as well as the Pink Festival. We'll have some bands out on that as well. I'll get Stan Salter on here next week to talk some ponies with me as we get you ready for racing season. Justify is the horse I keep hearing about. Justify. Bob Baffert. Maybe I'll get Baffert on here next week too. I'll chase him around. He likes me. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live right here on our Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel, where I can show off my cold roofing mug. Tasty. Last but never least, it is the Kona Blend coffee that keeps me going in the morning and caffeinates me properly. Blame Royal Farms for that. Download the ROFO app. Make sure you're using that when you're gassing up your vehicle. You'll get some free Western fries, some free chicken. I paid for my chicken and fries on Monday night because I don't have enough points yet, but I am earning points. I'm using it every time I gas up. That's the ROFO app. Real fresh, real fast. Get that Kona Blend coffee in the morning to start your day. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.